Casablanca, once a vibrant city, was now a shadow of its former self. The streets that were once filled with the hustle and bustle of daily life now lay silent and desolate. The vibrant colors of the markets, the sounds of merchants calling out their wares, and the laughter of children playing in the streets were all but distant memories. The city, which had been a melting pot of cultures and a beacon of hope and prosperity, was now a haunting reminder of what once was. Towering creatures with glowing eyes roamed the streets. These monstrous beings, with their immense size and terrifying presence, had taken over the city. Their glowing eyes pierced through the darkness, casting an eerie glow on the crumbling buildings. They moved with a predatory grace, their every step causing the ground to tremble. The once bustling streets were now their hunting grounds, and the few remaining survivors lived in constant fear of being discovered. Buildings lay in ruins, victims of colossal claws and teeth. The once grand structures that defined the city's skyline were now reduced to rubble. Massive claw marks and bite marks marred the facades of buildings, a testament to the ferocity of the creatures that had invaded. The destruction was widespread, with no corner of the city left untouched. The architectural marvels that once stood as symbols of human ingenuity and resilience were now nothing more than broken remnants of a bygone era. The air, once filled with the scent of spices and sea salt, now reeked of decay and fear. The once vibrant marketplace, where the aroma of exotic spices and fresh produce mingled with the salty sea breeze, was now a place of desolation. The air was thick with the stench of decay, a constant reminder of the death and destruction that had befallen the city. The eerie silence was occasionally broken by the distant growls and screeches of the monsters, adding to the sense of dread that hung over the city. The once familiar sounds of bustling markets and lively music were replaced by the chilling growls and screeches of monsters. The joyous sounds of daily life, the chatter of people, the clinking of coins, and the melodies of street musicians were now replaced by the terrifying noises of the creatures that had taken over. The growls and screeches echoed through the empty streets, a constant reminder of the danger that lurked around every corner. The city that once thrived with life and energy was now a ghost town, haunted by the presence of these monstrous invaders. Casablanca, once a beacon of hope, had fallen. The city that had stood as a symbol of resilience and progress was now a place of despair. The landmarks that once drew visitors from around the world were now unrecognizable, their grandeur lost to the ravages of the invasion. The spirit of the city, once unbreakable, was now shattered. The people who had called Casablanca home were either gone or living in constant fear, their lives forever changed by the events that had unfolded. The invasion had been swift and brutal. The creatures had appeared without warning, descending upon the city with a ferocity that left no time for preparation or defense. The attack was chaotic, with the monsters tearing through the streets and buildings with relentless aggression. The city's defenses were quickly overwhelmed, and the people were left to fend for themselves in the face of an unstoppable force. The speed and brutality of the invasion left the city in ruins, its people scattered and its future uncertain. Strange creatures, unlike anything ever seen, had poured out from a tear in the fabric of reality, a swirling vortex that had appeared without warning in the night sky. This otherworldly portal was the source of the invasion, a gateway to a realm of nightmares. The creatures that emerged from it were unlike anything the world had ever seen, their forms twisted and terrifying. The vortex pulsed with an unnatural energy, casting an eerie light over the city and adding to the sense of impending doom. The appearance of the vortex marked the beginning of the end for Casablanca, as the creatures it unleashed brought destruction and chaos in their wake. The military, caught completely off guard, had been quickly overwhelmed. The soldiers, trained to face human adversaries, were ill-prepared for the monstrous beings that now roamed the streets. Their weapons, designed for conventional warfare, were largely ineffective against the creatures. The initial attempts to mount a defense were met with devastating losses, and the military was soon forced to retreat. The once proud defenders of the city were now struggling to survive, their efforts to protect the people and reclaim the city seeming increasingly futile in the face of the overwhelming force they faced. Amidst the chaos lived the Strong family. John, the father, was a burly man with a heart of gold. His wife Mary was known for her quick wit and even quicker reflexes. Their children, 12-year-old David and 9-year-old Sarah, were bright and resourceful, quick to adapt to their terrifying new reality. The Strongs had always been a close-knit unit, their bond strengthened by their shared love and laughter. Now, in the face of unimaginable danger, that bond was their greatest weapon. They knew that to survive in this monster-infested city, they had to rely on each other more than ever before. Every day was a struggle for survival. Food and water were scarce, forcing the Strongs to scavenge for scraps amongst the rubble. They learned to move like shadows, avoiding the gaze of the monstrous creatures that patrolled the streets. One wrong move, one moment of carelessness could spell disaster.
Look, Papa!
David whispered, pointing to a dusty can of peaches on a high shelf. John's eyes lit up. Peaches! It had been weeks since they had tasted anything sweet, but how to reach it? As John pondered how to reach the peaches, they heard a muffled sob. Following the sound, they found a young boy no older than 6, huddled behind a toppled shelf. He was alone and terrified. His name was Omar, and he had been separated from his family during the chaos. The Strongs, despite their own hardships, couldn't bear to leave him behind.
Don't worry, little one. You're safe now. We'll take care of you.
Omar, his eyes wide with fear and gratitude, clung to Mary's side. The Strongs had gained a new responsibility, a new reason to hope. With Omar in tow, the Strongs continued their perilous journey through the monster-infested city. They soon discovered that the creatures were not their only threat. The city itself seemed to be watching them, its shattered walls whispering secrets in the wind. Strange symbols glowing with an eerie light began to appear on the remaining buildings.
What do you think they mean, Papa?
David asked, his voice barely a whisper. John shook his head, his brow furrowed with worry. Dad, I don't know, son, but I don't like the look of them. The symbols seemed to pulse with an unseen energy, a silent threat hanging over the ruined city. Section 6. The Kindness of Strangers. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the ruined cityscape, the Strongs knew they needed to find shelter for the night. The once bustling streets were now eerily silent, the remnants of buildings standing as ghostly sentinels against the fading light. The air was thick with the scent of smoke and dust, a constant reminder of the devastation that had befallen their home. The Strongs, a family of 4, had been wandering for days, their spirits weary, but their resolve unbroken. They had lost everything, but they still had each other. As they navigated the treacherous terrain, their eyes scanned the horizon for any sign of refuge. The children, Sarah and Michael, clung to their parents, their small faces etched with fatigue and fear. Just when hope seemed to be slipping away, they stumbled upon a group of survivors huddled around a flickering fire in the shell of a bombed-out building. The warmth of the fire was a stark contrast to the cold, desolate surroundings. The flames danced, casting a comforting glow on the faces of those gathered. The survivors, a mix of families and individuals, welcomed them with open arms. There was an unspoken understanding among them, a shared bond forged in the crucible of hardship. They offered the Strongs food, water, and a place to rest, their generosity a beacon of light in the darkness. Among the group was Hamid, the elderly shopkeeper, his eyes twinkling with kindness. He had lost his shop, but not his spirit. His stories of the past, filled with humor and wisdom, brought a sense of normalcy to the chaotic world around them. Aisha, the young woman with a talent for healing, her hands gentle and sure, moved among the group, tending to wounds and offering comfort. Her presence was a soothing balm, her skills a lifeline for those in need. And then, there was little Fatima, her laughter a bright spot in the darkness. Despite the dire circumstances, her innocent joy was infectious, reminding everyone of the resilience of the human spirit. For the first time since the invasion, the Strongs felt a glimmer of hope. Surrounded by the kindness of strangers, they realized that even in the darkest of times, humanity's capacity for compassion and solidarity could shine through. The night was still long and the road ahead uncertain, but in that moment, they found strength in each other and in the newfound community that had embraced them. Section 7. Facing the Behemoth. Their respite was short-lived. A deafening roar shook the ground, sending tremors through the ruined city. A monstrous creature, larger and more terrifying than any they had encountered before, emerged from the shadows. Its eyes, glowing like fiery coals, scanned the cityscape, searching for prey. This was the Behemoth, the alpha predator, the harbinger of destruction. Panic surged through the survivors. They scattered, desperate to escape the Behemoth's wrath. The Strongs, their hearts pounding in their chests, knew they had to act fast. They had to protect Omar, protect each other, protect the others.
There! John shouted, pointing to a sewer grate hidden beneath a pile of rubble. It's our only chance! They scrambled towards the grate, the behemoth's thunderous footsteps echoing behind them. John pried open the heavy grate and they tumbled down into the darkness, the stench of sewage filling their nostrils. The sewer tunnels were a labyrinth, a maze of darkness and despair. But they were alive, they were together, and they were determined to find their way back to the light.
Section 9. A New Dawn. After what felt like an eternity, they emerged from the sewers, blinking in the sunlight. The darkness that had enveloped them for so long was finally behind them. The air was fresh, the sky a brilliant blue, and the warmth of the sun felt like a long-lost friend. They took a moment to breathe it all in, to let the reality of their newfound freedom sink in. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated relief. They were outside the city limits, the behemoth's roars, a distant memory. The city that had once been their home was now just a silhouette against the horizon, a place of nightmares that they had left behind. The sounds of chaos and destruction were replaced by the serene whispers of the wind. It was a stark contrast, a reminder of how far they had come and the battles they had fought. A vast desert stretched before them, a daunting but hopeful landscape. They had survived. The endless expanse of sand and sky was both intimidating and inspiring. It was a blank canvas, a new world waiting to be explored. They knew the journey ahead would be challenging, but they also knew that they had the strength and resilience to face whatever came their way. The desert was a symbol of their new beginning, a testament to their survival and their unyielding spirit. They had faced their fears and emerged stronger. Every challenge, every obstacle had only made them more resilient. They had learned to rely on each other, to draw strength from their unity. They were no longer just a family. They were a team, a force to be reckoned with. Their bond was unbreakable, their determination unwavering. They stood together, ready to face whatever the future held. The Strongs, their family bond unbreakable, their spirits unbroken, set off into the unknown. Hand in hand, they walked towards the horizon, their hearts filled with hope and determination. They knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but they also knew that they had each other. Together, they could overcome anything. The unknown was no longer something to fear, it was an adventure waiting to be embraced. They had lost their home, but they had found something far more precious, the unwavering strength of family and the enduring power of hope. In the face of adversity, they had discovered the true meaning of family. It was not just about living under the same roof, it was about standing by each other, supporting each other, and never giving up on each other. They had found a new home in each other, a place where love and hope thrived. The sun, rising over the horizon, painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson, a promise of a new dawn, a new beginning. As they watched the sunrise, they felt a sense of peace and renewal. The past was behind them, and the future was a blank slate, full of endless possibilities. The golden and crimson hues of the sky were a reminder that even after the darkest night, the sun would always rise again. It was a new dawn, a new chapter in their lives, and they were ready to embrace it with open hearts and unbreakable spirits.